Hey, beautiful. How are you
Hello.
doing?
Oh, nice to meet you.
It is a pleasure to meet you, and you are probably the most punctual person I have ever had the pleasure of speaking with. And I'm not saying that to any fault to anybody because there's always some type of technical difficulty. But the second I started, I saw your name popped up. Love that.
Let's go.
So before we really jump into today, I love to do a little introduction for our queens and just for everyone who don't, have the pleasure to really get to know Jade quite yet. She is currently our reigning Miss Grand New Mexico USA 2025. She is no stranger to the spotlight, of course, a professional model, actress, and a dedicated coach, pageant coach to be exact, with over 14 years of experience in the industry. She is currently pursuing a degree in business administration at University of New Mexico while balancing her growth platform and career in media. Thank you again so much for joining us. Would you like to share a little bit more about yourself outside the crown before we get started for
Yeah,
today?
so you kind of explained everything already, but yes, I am a student at the University of New Mexico. I'm 20 years old, born and raised in Albuquerque, so a native, and I just love doing beauty pageants. I started when I was 3 and continued on the journey. My mom put me in those little toddlers and tiara pageants when I was little, and then I grew into it and I started coaching girls of all ages. Right now, I'm coaching a lot of girls for their upcoming pageant. It's pageant season. And all I learn and teach them is about walking. I work at a business IT company and I specialize in building computers for big companies like Disneyland and Delta. And I also love doing theater. I love singing, I love dancing, I love acting, being on stage, and telling a story from a different creator side. So, yeah.
That's amazing. I can't wait to dive a little bit more to your story, and I can imagine just how busy you are right now come pageant season as a coach because I know my girls are at work, so I imagine yours are too.
Yes. Yep, definitely.
So I would love to know that as a title holder and someone who's been in the industry as you have, what is something that you love to see more from the pageant community as a whole?
Yeah. Of course, being in pageants is not only about the glamour, the glitz, the dresses, the makeup. It's all about giving back to your community. And I know it's a lot going on in this world, especially what's happening. So, giving back to those that are in need, families that are in need of resources, and students needing free education or getting a hold of education. And that's definitely what I like focusing on. My platform is Mana de Albuquerque. I'm an ambassador for them for young girls who are in need of those resources and education and even learning how to save money. So that's all I say about beauty pageants is more community, more talking to your people in your town and all those things.
I'm all for it. I'm a big love emphasizing on community service because I think that's really changed my mind, at least when it came to beauty pageants, being introduced to it later. So I can't wait to dive a little bit more into your platform here in a second. But I would love to also just mention that you've competed in several pageants. You are such a talent. And you've even placed highly in systems like Teen Universe. Now, what inspired you to return and specifically choose the Miss Grand USA system now?
Yeah, so I've, of course, competing in all teen divisions throughout my life, and I was like, I'm a grown up now. I'm a miss. So, Grand, I've always looked into since I started doing Teen Universe. Teen Universe is almost kind of the same thing as Miss Grand, but in a teen version. And I was like, they're my inspiration. I want to be on that stage someday. Imagine being like walking, giving attitude, personality. And I was like, I love Grand and I love what it gives out that message of war and violence. And that's what I give out to my community. And I was like, I'm in it. I'm the next Miss Grand New Mexico.
Now, I imagine a lot of girls feel this because I remember when I first started pageants, I was in that awkward age where it's like I can be a teen but also compete as a miss, and then I immediately aged up to miss. How do you feel now that we've had all of our experience in the teen pageants, but now we're moving to the miss category?
Yes, it's a lot of work, and especially being the youngest too. When I competed at nationals at Teen Universe, I was 14 years old, and everyone else was like above 17. And so I was looked down on. Of course, I was young. I looked like a baby, oh, she's nothing. She doesn't know anything. But behold, I topped in the top three, and it's all about just not giving up and not letting people tell you no. It's telling everyone that, everything happens for a reason, and going from teen to miss is a big jump, but being able to connect with people and learn the ins and outs, and watching Miss USA, Miss Universe, Miss Grand, and I was like, okay, I think it's ready.
I think as long as you definitely have that confidence in yourselves and you're already familiar with it, having that attitude on stage, that the age is generally never a limit, but you just gotta have that confidence in yourself for sure.
Yes, definitely. And I'm so excited. I come out to be this really attitude personality person. So I'm like, I cannot wait for that walk on stage.
I cannot wait to see it on the Miss Grand stage as well. I've always been a huge fan of the performances, even on a local level that I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with, but even on an international level, fabulous.
Yes, definitely.
And now that you've joined the Grand system, what sets it apart from the other pageants that you've experienced?
Of course, like I said before, the attitude, the performance, the entertainment, and as well as the message that they are giving out from Miss Grand is the war on violence and also the four Bs. And that message honestly does speak out to a lot of girls. A lot of pageants do lack that message that they're supposed to inspire young girls. And, you know, Miss Grand just gives up the opportunity to empower girls. I know what's going on recently, but I all I've seen from the USA team is just empowerment, support. My sisters are amazing, beautiful, and we're all just there for each other.
For sure. And I believe the Miss Grand USA team, that organization is just fantastic. I know that y'all have amazing support systems, so I'm glad that you're going to be welcome, of course, into our Miss Years competing into such a welcoming system. Is there anything in particular that made it feel like a right fit for you specifically?
I believe that I have grown into my own unique pasarela.
Mhm.
And so everyone's telling me, like, girl, that walk, what are you doing here? Go to Miss Grant. They're like, go to Miss Grant. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah. So I think the uniqueness I also give to my community, I am an Afro Latina too. And seeking that out to Miss Grant is the diversity and the culture that Miss Grant is, especially the Miss Grand USA, is needing. And so I'm really, really proud to be going into this representing my culture.
I love that. And I love whenever I see girls really embrace their culture, the background that they're from, rather than hide it, because whether we like it or not, the United States is a melting pot of cultures, and they should all be celebrated.
Of course, yes, exactly.
And nationals are going to be coming up for us, I believe, in Vegas,
In
correct?
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Las Vegas. I'm so jealous of you right now. So, besides that, what's different about how you're preparing for this time going into competing in pageants in comparison to other competitions?
Yeah, it's all about growing into that woman
Mhm.
mentality. It's being able to grow up, be an adult, and also learn those responsibilities and take those actions when competing in this. So going into nationals, I'm ready, prepared. There's a lot. We have almost around 50-ish days left. So, there's a lot of preparing that is still happening. I know I'm getting a lot of really good local businesses that are helping me get to that point. And yeah, just being ready, getting into my interview, getting into my walk, and also my appearance. I gotta get the best of the best dresses, right? So, yeah.
No, absolutely. And it's amazing whenever it's such a relief getting that extra external support from local businesses to really be able to represent your state with more pride. But do you have like a daily mantra or anything that you do to help kind of reassure yourself that you are following this path of growth?
Yeah, I always do self admirations and getting meditations in. I love journaling. I love uplifting myself with just words that I could just write down look at it and be like, you know what? I am her and I'm in it and I'm never going to stop going until, everything just happens. The doors just open for me and I'm there, I'm present and just being my true self.
For sure. And knowing everything that you know now, given your amazing experience when it comes to pageantry, if you could look back to the first day that you've ever competed or the first pageant you ever competed in, is there something you would do differently?
Hmm. I remember, funny story, I did a talent portion when I was like 6, and it was like Bop to the Top or something. And I had flung my heel over the judges when I kicked. So that was just a little funny story I like saying. I I think just honestly connecting with people and everyone there, being present, like I said, pageants are not just there and smiling at people. It's connecting with everyone, being present, and just enjoying it.
For sure. And I love that you mentioned the story where we had just a little bit of a little technical wardrobe issue when it came to our talent. If anybody else has ever experienced that, I'll love to hear that below for sure. Because I can remember vividly the one time I ever did a talent, I did like a baton routine. Every time I practiced it, okay, decent. I'm not gonna say flawless. I'm gonna be honest there. When I got up there, my shoe almost fell off. My baton fell off multiple times. It was a disaster. So I'm glad I'm not the only one
Oh,
on
yeah,
that boat who can
definitely.
look back and reminisce. And I would love to know that, or just mention to start off, that you are incredibly photogenic. Your Instagram,
Thank you.
I stolen a lot of inspiration from it, just to let you know. So
Thank you.
thank you for that. But also, what advice would you give someone who wants to feel more confident in front of the camera or master their poses? Because I can admit that I can use a little extra help myself there.
Yeah, so I do train models when it comes to doing photography and photo shoots in front of photographers and producers, and it's kind of intimidating, right? But I always tell the models and pageant girls that pretend like no one's there. You're there for yourself. You're there to empower your true self. Be positive about yourself. Don't take yourself down for some little thing. Just because someone is looking at you doesn't mean they're thinking about you, maybe, or just because you think people are like saying things about you in your head, that is not true. I've always told myself, like, you know what? They're probably thinking about they forgot to take the chicken out of the oven. I don't know. But focus on yourself and focus on what you are there for and your dreams, your hobbies, everything you're there for.
Absolutely, and I really probably should embrace the pose like no one's there because I can admit I try to practice poses sometimes. Sometimes they land, sometimes they don't. But especially when I think about it and being in front of the crowd, I get in my head about what are these people thinking? They might be thinking they forgot the chicken in the oven, for example. I think I like that mentality a lot.
Yes, definitely. It's a lot of not being blind almost, like, don't look at me, but stay in that moment.
Of course. And we know that Miss Grand USA is known for its strong digital presence as well. How do you stay organized and consistent with the content while staying true to yourself?
Yeah, so it's a lot of being, especially for me, I like working locally here in New Mexico. So having that community behind my back is helping me go forth strong with that media presence, especially not only just photo shoots, but community service and promotion for sponsorships, a lot of that. And it's just, amazing that I get to have a great team behind me that is helping me put forward into the world, knowing what people my story and who I am, and also just being there, being ready to compete. I'm a contestant for Miss Grand USA, which is such an honor to say. So I'm excited.
For sure. And I imagine we're not going to have a hard time just really being able to continue with our media presence. Saying that, we can also highlight that you have been featured in magazines and you've worked with national producers as well. How do you find these opportunities, and what advice would you give to newcomers who are trying to build their presence the same way?
Yeah, so I love networking. I call myself a little business girl. I love talking to people and reaching out, emailing. I love me some good emails. And so it's a lot of just reaching out, finding what's out there in your state or nationally. I follow a lot of states' fashion weeks, magazines. I reach out to them, tell my story, tell who I am, and I'm not only just putting my face on the cover of a magazine, I'm trying to tell a story and hope to inspire others. For other people who are trying to get into it, I would say network and put yourself out there and brand yourself. I know it's so hard to start up a social media and put a bunch of pictures and it's just not getting any engagement, but that's not true. As much as you brand yourself and put yourself out there into the media to get your modeling or pageant career started, people are still looking. Like you said, you see my photos, and I wouldn't have known you saw my photos until you said it. But it's very important to just put yourself out there, be in those people's DMs, emails as much as you can. That really, really would help you.
How does it look like to be the person to reach out first and make these connections?
I would say I've always been told to just go out there, and if they say no, they say no. Move on. And even then, right now I've secret. I've got a national sponsor brand that is sponsoring me, not locally, which I was so proud about because I was able to reach out to them and just come in with, patience and gratitude and making sure that, they know that I'm brave enough to even reach out because, you know, little me would never reach out to a big brand like that. But luckily for me, just being confident into your words and everything like that. Sometimes it's not all in person, face to
Mhm.
face, which is less, imitating, but, emails, DMs would help a lot.
For sure. And I would love that advice for to really just embrace whatever answer we might receive. I am so grateful for those moments where I'm like, they'll never choose me. And for some reason they did. And like you say, you never know what opportunities you're going to get when you take that risk. So I hope people start getting a little bit more courage to do so
Oh, yeah,
themselves.
definitely.
And we both know that pageantry requires a lot. We talk about mentally, physically, emotionally. How do you protect your peace and avoid burnout?
Yeah. So I've, not to be perfect, but I've been burned out. Pageants are very
Mhm.
hard, and to be fully transparent, it's it's a sport, it's a hard sport. And you know, for me, I always just tell myself to calm down. Everything's gonna be okay. Everything does happen for a reason. I always say that to myself. If something in my way does not go, I always be like, okay, that's fine. I'm gonna move on. This is okay. There's another door that's gonna open for me in the future. I've been through a lot of struggles when it comes to this experience, but I've learned a lot, and I think I've gained that thick skin to really go through anything.
For sure. How do you practice self-care while also showing up consistently as a title holder and, of course, as a content creator as well?
Yeah, so my schedule is booked. So I always put time in there to really focus on myself, my well-being, and my health. Luckily, I have a solid skin routine. I go to the gym, work out consistently, and it's just a lot of making sure that you are there for yourself. You're a human, you're living. The only thing that's there for you is yourself. And it's very, very important to keep yourself healthy no matter what it takes, even down to your hair, down inside your stomach. It's all about what matters to yourself and having that time.
For sure. And one thing that always just pleasantly surprised me whenever I went from admittedly kind of a pageant hater to the pageant fan that I am today and having the opportunity to sit down and speak with so many fabulous queens, I learned that there was a lot of misconceptions that I had during that time before I was proven wrong. And you've coached others, you've worn many crowns yourself. What's one big misconception people have about pageantry that you wish more people understood?
Yeah. I hear a lot about what are you doing on stage and showing your legs, your
Mhm.
shoulders. And I was like, well, it's part of being a woman. It's part of being who you are and standing up for yourself as a woman, as a young girl. It's a lot of backlash I hear, especially when I tell my neighbor like I'm competing in the pageant. They look at me so weird, and I'm like, it's okay. I'm here to show my voice. I'm there to show what I stand for and what I'm there to do for my community. And it's a lot of just not giving up on those who are already backlashing me. So it's telling people that I can go up there and be brave and stand in those tall high heels and create the most powerful speech that reaches out to not only my state but the whole country or internationally. And that is probably the most thing I'm so excited to do because, I want to show people that I'm not in it for all these glamours, but to, advocate for those, who are struggling or inspire those who are wanting to do something in their life.
For people who really would love to advocate more, do you have any recommendations on where to get started?
Yes, so as I talked about, there is, my platform that does help with public speaking. I took a public speaking class and that helped me, but I was like, I know how to talk to people, it's okay. But it's a lot of just being not shy and, going to people. I've seen videos of people going up and it's called rejection therapy or something like that. And they ask for the most random things to a stranger and they could either get a no or they can either get a yes and get help. And I thought that was a really good, cool thing to learn how to speak to people, how to advocate, and just it's a lot of just being empowered, not being able to just back down from your voice. You have a voice, you have a story, you have a message, just say it.
I really need to look more to rejection therapy because, like we said earlier, I mean, rejection's scary sometimes, but really ripping off that band-aid might just help a little bit.
Yeah.
And what keeps you coming back to compete at the end of the day? What's the core motivation that continues just making you light up?
Yes, it's been a part of my life. I grew up to into it and I realize I'm not doing it just to spend my money. I have my platform I want to reach out to people and talk about, and it's been I had many grateful opportunities, and if it wasn't for pageants, I wouldn't be the person I am today. The things I have under my belt, I would not have because of pageants, and not only from Miss Grand USA, but other pageant systems. I've gotten the opportunity to work with, like I said, really big magazines and producers, and even being in movies that helped me get into that. So pageants is just where I want to be at. It's it's my dream, it's my passion, it's my hobby. I come home from work and it's like pageant time. So it's like I'm it makes me so happy that I get to meet so many people from all over the country, meeting new sisters and seeing the culture diversity when it comes into pageants.
100%. And I think that's one of the things that just makes it so hard for so many, myself included, to stay away from pageants is that it just always a reason to want to come back and do it again and experience more because it just becomes a core part of your routine on what opportunities can I find, what events can I show up to, who can I meet. So I completely understand that just the pure love of it just keeps getting you coming back.
Oh, yes, yes.
Before we start wrapping up for today, we always love playing a little game called This or That. Are you familiar with it by chance?
Yes.
Okay, it's pretty straightforward, so it's kind of iffy for me to try to explain it.
I get it.
I'm
I
glad we
get
got the
it.
rules down already. So, starting off then, this or that, crown or sash?
Sash. I don't know.
100%. It's so easy to wear with everything. My favorite accessory. This or that, onstage question or interview?
Interviews.
Interview, for sure. This or that, confidence or kindness?
Kindness.
Kindness. This or that, books or podcasts?
Books.
Books. This or that, cooking or ordering takeout?
Cooking. I love cooking.
This or that, gold or silver?
Gold. All my jewelry is gold. I love gold.
I'm finding collecting more gold pieces. I try to be silver girly because I got gifted so much silver growing up. It's just not me.
Mm-hmm.
This or that, Hulu or Netflix?
Netflix.
Save or spend?
Spend.
I always love asking a pageant girl that because we all know deep down we're spenders.
We are big time spenders.
There's no way we can work around it. We just are. This or that, short-term goals or long-term vision?
Short-term goals. I know once we reach that short term, there's always another short term after that, and we just keep on going.
Absolutely. This or that, on time or fashionably late?
On time.
Hear that,
I
Miss
am
USA? She's
on
ready.
on the dot, on time. I will be the first one there.
Love that. You're better than me. And finally, this or that, personal stylist or dress yourself?
Dress myself. I
Dress
think
yourself.
my head is insane. It's crazy. I know what goes with.
I understand. Getting the vision going sometimes, this is hard to translate with others. Oop, looks like it may have froze on my end here. There we go.
Oh my
Fabulous.
gosh. It said my phone was so hot.
No. Oh, do you have an iPhone?
I
I
do.
understand. Sometimes I just leave her just on the side and she overheats on her own. I'm not a fan of iPhone because of that. That's between you and me.
Yes.
Well, before we fully wrap up for today, would you love to share just how we can stay connected with you, your journey, support your platform, anything and everything under the sun that you can think of so we can really get to enjoy your journey further?
Yes, so you guys can follow me at official Miss Grand New Mexico, as well as my personal Jade Vargas. My last name has 2 G's. And as well as follow my platforms, Mana the ABQ. And from there, you'll able to support me, show support, share my post, and message me if you have any business opportunities for me.
Absolutely. And always gotta get your networking out there. So I love that you chip that in right there. So thank you to everybody for joining us here for today. It was such a pleasure being able to speak with you, Jade. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
joining us, of course. We're gonna make sure to have Jade's socials connected on here so that you're gonna be able to have no excuses really not to follow her. And we'll see you all again next time. Bye.